Ethan Cole never believed life would offer him anything more than survival. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., he dragged himself out of his creaking bed in their tiny apartment, preparing breakfast for his 6-year-old daughter Lily, whose laughter was the only thing that made the weight of the world feel lighter. His days were a blur of overtime shifts, unsteady paychecks, and constantly praying the rent wouldn't go up again. Yet he kept going, carrying a strength he himself didn't recognize. On that rainy Thursday morning, he had no idea the trajectory of his entire life was about to explode into chaos and fate. He had no idea that within the next hour, he would walk into a room he was never meant to enter. He had no idea he would see the most powerful woman in the building, Aurora Hale, the young CEO feared and admired by thousands, in a moment most private, most vulnerable, most human. And he certainly had no idea that one accidental step, one wrong door, one heartbeat of shock would become the catalyst for a story he never imagined he would be part of. For a man who believed miracles weren't meant for people like him, this was the day the universe decided to prove him wrong. Ethan arrived at Hale Industries drenched from the unexpected morning rain, clutching his toolkit while trying to keep the droplets from soaking the documents in his bag. He was a maintenance technician, one of those invisible workers everyone overlooked unless something broke. The revolving glass doors hissed open as he entered the building, and the warm air inside fogged up his wet glasses instantly. Great, he thought as he wiped them with his sleeve. Just another perfect morning. He dropped Lily off at school earlier, giving her a pink umbrella and a kiss on the forehead, promising he'd be home before bedtime this time. Whether he'd keep that promise depended entirely on how many emergencies the building's ancient electrical system decided to throw at him today. He swiped his ID card, the security guard giving him a polite but distracted nod. Ethan wasn't important enough to warrant more attention, but that was fine. Invisible people could survive longer. He had learned to live perfectly well in the shadows. As he walked to the service elevator, his phone buzzed. A message from his supervisor. Urgent. Come to the 51st floor. CEO office corridor. Now. Ethan blinked in confusion. The CEO floor? Maintenance techs rarely went up there. Everything on that floor was futuristic, polished, automated, and terrifyingly expensive. If anything broke there, it usually required a specialized external team, not him. He took the elevator, the metal box groaning as if protesting being forced so high. The higher the elevator went, the more his heartbeat thumped. Everyone in the building knew about Aurora Hale. Brilliant, ruthless, untouchable. A goddess made of ice and ambition. No one spoke to her unless spoken to. No one got close unless necessary. And certainly no one barged into her private space unless they had a death wish. When the elevator chimed at the 51st floor, Ethan stepped out into a different world. Marble floors polished to mirror shine reflected his worn boots. The air smelled faintly of lavender and sterile perfection. And everything, from the walls to the ceiling, gave the impression that even dust was too intimidated to settle here. His radio crackled, his supervisor's voice emerging. Ethan, the light system outside the CEO's private office is malfunctioning. She needs it fixed immediately. She has a press conference in an hour, so move fast and don't screw up. Great. No pressure. Ethan walked quickly but carefully, eyes scanning for the faulty panel. And there it was, a small, digital lighting console blinking red. Easy fix, probably a wiring glitch. He knelt, opened his toolkit, and began working, focusing so hard he didn't notice the soft click of a door behind him. Once the panel was reconnected, he needed to test the circuit. The console had 2 switches, one for the hallway lights and one for the private office suite behind the frosted glass door. Ethan pressed the second switch. Nothing happened. He frowned. Maybe the breaker was misaligned. He stood, wiping his hands on his pants, and reached for the frosted door, assuming the office was empty this early in the morning. He pushed it open without a second thought, and the world stopped. In the center of the room, with her back facing him, stood Aurora Hale. Her white dress shirt unbuttoned halfway, her toned back exposed as she pulled off her blazer, preparing to change into a fresh outfit for her press conference. Her blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders like liquid light. She was mid-motion, elegant and unguarded, the kind of sight no ordinary man was ever meant to stumble upon. Ethan froze, his soul leaving his body. His brain screamed for him to back out, close the door, run away, leave the country, evaporate, anything but stand there like an idiot. But his body refused to move. Aurora turned slightly, her eyes narrowing at the mirror in front of her when she noticed a reflection, a man, in her space. Her space. Ethan wanted to melt into the floor. I'm so sorry, he gasped, stumbling backward, nearly dropping his toolkit. I thought, the lights. I wasn't, oh my God. His words tangled like a knot. Aurora slowly turned, her hand still gripping the edge of her open shirt. Ethan's face burned so hot it could have powered the entire building. But instead of screaming or firing him on the spot, two very reasonable reactions, Aurora simply studied him with an unreadable expression. Calm, cold, but not furious, not yet. "You're not supposed to be in here," she said, her voice like a blade made of silk. Ethan swallowed hard. "I know, I swear I thought," your supervisor said, "the light. I'm so sorry, Ms. Hale. Please don't fire me. I have a daughter. The corner of her mouth twitched, not amusement, more like curiosity. "Turn around," she said. Ethan obeyed instantly, spinning so fast he almost twisted his ankle. Behind him, he heard the soft rustle of fabric as she continued changing. His heart pounded so loudly he wondered if she could hear it. After what felt like 4 lifetimes, Aurora finally said, "You can look now." Ethan turned slowly. She was fully dressed now, crisp blazer, silk blouse, immaculate as if the previous moment never existed. But something in her eyes flickered, not anger, not embarrassment, but something intrigued. "What's your name?" "Ethan. Ethan Cole." She nodded once, her gaze examining him like she was piecing together a puzzle. "Next time, knock before entering a CEO's private suite." "Yes, ma'am." "You may finish the repair." Ethan almost collapsed from relief. He returned to the console, hands shaking. Aurora walked past him, heels clicking softly, but then she paused. "And Mr. Cole," she added, making him look up, "thank you for not looking any longer than you did." His ears turned red again. She disappeared into the hallway. Ethan exhaled shakily. He had survived, barely. What he didn't know was this moment, the moment he walked into the wrong room on the wrong day, the moment he saw the most powerful woman in the city in one of her rare, vulnerable states, was the moment Aurora Hale began noticing him, watching him, wondering about him. And it was the moment the universe quietly shifted, sealing their fates together. Forever. Ethan tried to steady his breathing as he left the CEO's private office, feeling as though he had just walked out of a burning building with his eyebrows barely intact. His radio buzzed with more instructions from his supervisor, but the words barely registered. All he could hear was Aurora Hale's voice echoing in his skull, cool, composed, and impossibly calm for someone he'd just accidentally walked in on while she was changing. He expected humiliation to crash over him again, but instead, something else settled in his chest. Confusion. Why hadn't she fired him? Why had she looked at him like that, measured, searching, almost like she was deciding something? He didn't have the luxury to think too deeply about it, though. Rent was due in 2 weeks. Lily needed new shoes. Life didn't pause for embarrassment. By the time Ethan returned to the maintenance office, he was mentally ready to bury the incident and pray Aurora would forget it ever happened. Unfortunately, the universe had other plans. 2 hours later, he received an email. No, the email. From HR Department. Subject, reassignment of role. You have been reassigned to direct support technician for the executive floor. Report. Monday, 8 a.m. to CEO Hale's personal operations coordinator. Ethan blinked at the screen until the words blurred. Direct support technician? Executive floor? That was practically a different species of job. Pay grade? Significantly higher. Pressure? Astronomical. Visibility? Unavoidable. A cold wave washed over him. They couldn't possibly. No way. This had to be a mistake. He grabbed his tools and marched straight back up to HR, his pulse throbbing. When he arrived, the HR manager, a man who always smelled faintly of fresh coffee and expensive cologne, looked up with a tense smile. "Mr. Cole, I assume you're here about the reassignment?" Yes, Ethan said, rubbing his neck. "There's been a mistake. I'm not qualified. I'm just maintenance. I don't work with executives. The HR manager sighed, leaning back. Mr. Cole, this request came directly from Ms. Hale's office. Ethan's stomach plummeted. From her? Yes, she specifically requested you. Ethan felt the room spin slightly, like he had stepped onto a moving train. Why? She didn't specify, and frankly, I don't ask questions when the CEO gives an order. Ethan's mouth moved, but nothing came out. The HR manager softened his voice. Look, Mr. Cole, this is a promotion, a major one. Most employees would kill for this opportunity. It includes benefits, higher salary, flexible hours, and executive floor access. If I were you, I'd take a walk and think carefully before refusing. Refuse. The word hit Ethan like a joke. He couldn't refuse. Not when Lily's school bills were piling up, not when he was one medical emergency away from financial collapse. But being near Aurora Hale every day, after that incident, his face heated just thinking about it. I'll accept, he murmured. Good choice, the HR manager said with a knowing nod. But more surprises awaited him. At 4 p.m., when Ethan went to pick up Lily from school, he noticed a sleek black company car parked outside. A woman in a tailored suit stepped out and approached him. Mr. Ethan Cole? He blinked. Yes? Ms. Hale would like a moment of your time. Ethan nearly choked on air. Now? Here? If you're available. Lily tugged his sleeve. Daddy, who's that? Ethan bent down and whispered, Just someone from Daddy's work, sweetheart. The woman opened the back door of the car. Ethan hesitated, then gently nudged Lily inside with him. The car interior smelled of leather and lavender, Aurora's signature scent. Ethan swallowed hard. Aurora sat on the other side, perfectly composed, her legs crossed, her tablet resting on her lap. She was here, in person, in his world. So close he could hear her soft exhale. Mr. Cole, she greeted. Ms. Hale, he stammered, shifting uncomfortably as Lily climbed into his lap with curious eyes. Aurora glanced at the child, her expression momentarily softening. This must be your daughter. Yes, Lily. Lily waved cheerfully. Hi, are you a princess? Aurora blinked. Ethan almost died on the spot, but instead of being annoyed, Aurora gave the faintest smile. No, I'm just someone who runs a company. Lily tilted her head. But you look like a princess. Aurora looked away quickly, almost shy for a split second, something Ethan never imagined seeing from her. Then she straightened. Mr. Cole, I assume you received the reassignment notice? Ethan nodded nervously. Yes. I wanted to say, for the record, I'm really sorry about this morning. I swear I didn't mean... Aurora raised a hand lightly. That situation is behind us. I didn't call you here to discuss that. Ethan shut his mouth. Aurora's eyes found his steady, unreadable. I requested your reassignment because I need someone trustworthy, discreet, and competent on the executive floor. Your record shows you're reliable. And today, you handled an awkward situation with integrity. That matters to me. Ethan stared at her. Integrity? He felt like he had barely handled anything. But I'm just a maintenance tech, he said quietly. I don't think I'm qualified, Aurora finished. Mr. Cole, I decide what qualifies someone, not titles. Her words landed heavy, warm, confusing. You'll start on Monday. You'll have direct access to my office, assist with technical operations, and respond to emergencies on the executive floors only. Ethan nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do my best. I expect nothing less. Lily suddenly tugged on Ethan's sleeve again. Daddy, can we get ice cream on the way home? Before Ethan could answer, Aurora spoke gently. She likes strawberry, doesn't she? Ethan froze. How did you... Aurora tapped her tablet. Her birthday form was in your personnel file. Favorite flavor, strawberry. Favorite toy, rabbits. Favorite color, pink. Lily gasped. You know everything. Aurora chuckled softly. Only what your daddy tells the company. Ethan's chest tightened. For a moment, the CEO wasn't a goddess of ice. She was just a woman who noticed things most people never bothered to. The car ride ended, and Aurora nodded once as Ethan stepped out. See you Monday, Mr. Cole. The door closed. The car drove away. Ethan stood on the sidewalk, Lily holding his hand, his heartbeat doing somersaults. He had no idea that by stepping into that car, he had already stepped into a different destiny. And he had no idea that Aurora Hale, the woman he accidentally saw in one of her most exposed moments, would now be a constant presence in his orbit, whether he was ready for it or not. Monday arrived faster than Ethan expected, and with it came a knot in his stomach that tightened each time he glanced at the clock. Lily had bounced excitedly at breakfast, singing about how her daddy had a new, fancy job with the princess lady, which did nothing to help Ethan's nerves. Standing in front of the mirrored elevator doors on the 51st floor, he adjusted his shirt collar for the 10th time. He had ironed his clothes the night before, bought new shoes he couldn't quite afford, and rehearsed how he would greet Aurora. None of it made him feel any more prepared. When the elevator doors slid open, he stepped onto the luxurious floor with the quiet dread of someone walking into a lion's den. Everything here looked too perfect, too polished, too expensive for a man like him to be anywhere near. A woman with sharp eyes and a tailored suit approached him. "You must be Mr. Cole," she said briskly. "I'm Donna, Ms. Hale's operations coordinator." Ethan nodded awkwardly. "Yes, nice to meet you. I trust you understand the expectations for someone assigned to the executive floor." Mostly," Dana sighed. "Follow me." She walked quickly, her heels clicking like a countdown. Ethan hurried after her as she spoke. "You'll be responsible for all technical issues on this floor and the top penthouse level. Ms. Hale requested that you be on call at all times when she's in the building." Ethan's throat tightened. "On call? All the time?" "Yes. If she pages you, you come, immediately." "Right. Your conduct must be professional. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not enter any room without explicit permission. You will not step inside Ms. Hale's private suite unless she calls for you." Ethan winced. He knew exactly why that rule was being emphasized. Dana slowed and turned to him, her expression softening slightly. "Ms. Hale requested you personally. I don't know why, but she trusts you. That's rare. Don't lose that trust." Then Dana pointed to an office space, small but modern, with a sleek desk and access to all building systems. "This will be your workstation." Ethan blinked. "This is mine?" "Yes, and Ms. Hale would like to see you now." "Now?" "Yes, don't keep her waiting. Keep her." As if his heartbeat wasn't already sprinting, Dana guided him to the massive glass doors of Aurora Hale's office. She knocked lightly. "Ms. Hale, Mr. Cole is here." "Send him in," came the calm, velvety voice from inside. Ethan stepped through the doors, then froze. Aurora was seated behind her imposing black marble desk, sunlight spilling behind her like a halo against the floor-to-ceiling windows. She glanced up from her tablet, her expression unreadable but unmistakably aware of him. "Good morning, Mr. Cole." Ethan swallowed. "Good morning, Ms. Hale. How was your weekend?" He blinked. Was she making conversation? Good. I took Lily for ice cream." "Strawberry?" she asked without missing a beat. "Yes." Her lips formed a faint, almost private smile. "Good." Ethan felt warmth crawl up his neck. Aurora stood, smoothing her blazer with a graceful motion that reminded him again of how composed she was, how different she seemed from everyone else in his world. "Walk with me," she instructed. He followed her through the office, past the interactive glass screens and the silent shelves lined with awards. "You're here because I need someone who isn't afraid to tell me the truth," she said, her tone steady, almost reflective. "My executives lie, my board lies, my partners lie. Everyone tells me what they think I want to hear." Ethan frowned. "I don't understand." "Why me?" "Because you looked me in the eyes after an embarrassing situation and didn't try to pretend you were someone else," Aurora said simply. "Most men either cower or flirt. You did neither." Ethan laughed nervously. "I was just trying not to get fired. And that honesty," she said, stopping to face him, "is useful to me." Before Ethan could respond, a loud metallic crack echoed from the hallway. Aurora's brows pinched. "What was that?" Without waiting, she stepped toward the noise. but a massive stage light, suspended above the boardroom entryway for the upcoming investor conference, snapped free from its cable and began plummeting straight toward her. "Aurora!" Ethan didn't think. His body moved before his mind caught up. He lunged forward, grabbing her waist and yanking her backward just as the light crashed to the ground with a violent clang, shattering across the marble floor. The impact shook the walls. Dust and shards scattered everywhere. Alarms beeped. Ethan shielded Aurora instinctively, his arm around her, his body angled protectively as debris settled. Aurora looked up at him, shock, breathlessness, something fragile flickering behind her eyes. "Are you hurt?" Ethan asked, chest heaving. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. You saved me." Ethan stepped back quickly, realizing he was still holding her. I didn't think. I just reacted." Aurora blinked, her composure cracking for the first time since he met her. She touched her wrist where his hand had brushed her. "Thank you," she said quietly, sincerely. Security rushed in, chaos erupted, questions flew everywhere, but Aurora didn't look at any of them. Her eyes stayed fixed on Ethan. The rest of the day unfolded in a blur of safety checks and frantic staff running around, but Aurora remained unusually quiet. When she returned to her office, she summoned Ethan again. "Mr. Cole," she said softly when he entered. "Sit." He hesitated, then obeyed. Aurora watched him with an expression he couldn't decipher, something thoughtful, almost vulnerable. "Do you have any idea how many people in my life would have let that light fall without moving?" she asked. Ethan frowned. "I think anyone would have helped." "No," she said. "Not anyone. Most people react for themselves, but you move toward danger." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "I just didn't want you to get hurt." Aurora's gaze softened. "You were right earlier. You're not like the people in my world, Mr. Cole. You don't pretend. You don't manipulate. That's why—" She paused, choosing her words. "That's why I find myself noticing you." Ethan's breath caught. "Noticing me?" "Yes." Aurora stood, walking to the window, her silhouette traced by golden light. "I've been alone a long time, by necessity, not choice. People either fear me or want something from me. But today, when you pulled me out of danger—" She glanced at him over her shoulder, eyes glimmering with something new. "You made me feel human again." Ethan's heartbeat stumbled. He didn't know what to say, what he could say. She continued, voice low. "I don't expect you to understand what that means to me, but I want you to know this. I trust you, Mr. Cole, more than most people in this building." Ethan swallowed hard, overwhelmed. "I'm just trying to do my job, Ms. Hale." "And yet," she murmured, "you've already done far more than that." Before he could respond, a soft knock echoed on the door. "Ms. Hale," Dana called, "your meeting with the investors is starting." Aurora straightened, her mask of CEO composure slipping back into place. "Thank you. I'll be there shortly." When Dana left, Aurora turned to Ethan one last time. "You saved me today," she said quietly. "And I don't forget the people who protect me." Ethan felt a shiver trace down his spine. Not fear, but something magnetic and unspoken pulling him closer to a world he had never belonged to. A world that was now opening for him, because of her. And as he left her office that evening, Ethan didn't yet realize one thing. This moment, this act of instinctive courage, had changed how Aurora saw him forever. And it was only the beginning. The following week unfolded with a strange, electrifying tension that neither Ethan nor Aurora spoke about, yet both felt simmering beneath each interaction. Ethan found himself called to Aurora's office more often, sometimes for actual technical issues, other times for reasons he couldn't quite identify. A flickering screen, a minor glitch, a loose wire that was never actually loose. Each time he arrived, Aurora was there, watching him with that same unreadable expression that made his pulse trip over itself. But it wasn't until Wednesday evening, long after most employees had gone home, that everything changed. Ethan was fixing a panel in the hallway outside Aurora's penthouse-level suite. Lily was at a school art event, and he planned to pick her up after finishing this task. He tightened the last screw when suddenly the lights flickered off, a beat of darkness. Then emergency lights glowed dimly. Something wasn't right. His radio crackled. "Power outage on top floor. Reset systems manually," the supervisor ordered. Ethan headed for the penthouse control room, only to notice Aurora's office door slightly open, a low voice inside. Not Aurora's. "You think you can keep controlling this company, Aurora, without giving us what we want? You're alone, completely alone." Ethan froze. He pressed himself against the door. Another voice, Aurora's, cool but sharper than usual. "I don't negotiate with blackmailers." "You will," the stranger hissed, "if you don't want certain team private footage to go public." Ethan's blood ran cold. Footage? Private footage? His mind raced back to that moment he accidentally walked in on her. No way someone else had that on camera. But the stranger continued, "We hacked your hallway cams. We have everything, including your little intimate encounter with your technician, the one you promoted for reasons everyone is already whispering about." Ethan's heart stopped. Aurora's voice hardened like ice. "You release that, and I'll bury your career before the hour ends." "Oh, I don't think so," the man said smugly. "Once the public sees the CEO getting undressed in her private office while a maintenance worker watches her, they'll turn on you. Investors will turn on you. The board will turn on you. You're finished." Ethan's rage ignited. Without thinking, he burst into the room. "Don't you dare talk to her like—" Both heads snapped toward him. Aurora's eyes widened. Fear? Relief? Shock? He didn't know. The intruder, a wiry man in a suit, sneered. "Ah, the loyal dog." Ethan stepped forward. "Delete whatever you stole. Now." The man laughed. "Or what? You're just a technician, a nobody." He reached into his jacket, pulling out a thumb drive. "The footage is synced to an auto drop. If I don't cancel it within 10 minutes, it hits the internet. Headlines by morning." Aurora rose from her chair, her composure shattered. "Why are you doing this?" "Simple," the man smirked. "I want your shares, enough to control the board." "I'll never sign anything for you," she spat. "Oh, but you will," he said darkly. "Because otherwise your little scandal with this man, this single father, will cost you everything." Ethan clenched his fists. "You want me involved? Fine. But leave her out of this." "Ethan," Aurora whispered, eyes flashing. The man scoffed. "Touching, truly, but unless Aurora agrees to hand over control of Hale Industries, both of you go down together." The panic twisting Aurora's face broke something inside Ethan. He had lived his whole life protecting Lily. He knew what helplessness felt like. But seeing Aurora, in all her strength, brilliance, and trembling vulnerability, cornered like this made something fierce surge through him. He slowly approached the man. "Let me see the drive," Ethan said carefully. "Let me check if the file actually uploaded. You could be bluffing." The man raised an eyebrow. "Why would I let you touch this?" "Because I know the system," Ethan said. "You don't want a corrupted upload, do you? If you're trying to blackmail her, you need the file intact. Let me confirm it's not damaged." The man hesitated. His ego, massive and fragile, made him vulnerable. He tossed the drive at Ethan. "Fine, make it quick." Ethan caught it, walked slowly to the table, plugged it into Aurora's tablet. A progress bar popped up. The file was there, clear as day. Aurora dressing, Ethan walking in, Aurora turning. That split second where vulnerability and shock collided. Ethan's stomach twisted, but something else happened the moment the video played. Aurora looked away with shame so deep it pierced him. That was the moment he knew what he needed to do. He glanced at the doorway, the emergency power system's breaker panel on the wall. One plan, insane, reckless, but the only way. Without warning, Ethan yanked the tablet out of the port, grabbed the thumb drive. "Hey!" the man roared. Aurora gasped. Ethan sprinted to the control panel. The man lunged after him. "Stop him!" Ethan slammed the emergency breaker down. The entire penthouse plunged into darkness, pitch black except for the faint red glow of emergency exit signs. "You idiot!" the man screamed. "You'll corrupt the file!" "Exactly," Ethan growled in the darkness. Chaos erupted. The man stumbled. Aurora called out, "Ethan! Ethan!" "Stay back!" Ethan shouted. Heavy footsteps approached him. The man, Ethan's eyes adjusted enough to see a silhouette rushing toward him. The man tackled him. They crashed against the wall. The thumb drive skittered across the floor. Ethan fought back. Years of exhaustion, frustration, fear, love for Lily, and whatever unspoken bond he had with Aurora poured into every punch. "You think you can ruin her life?" Ethan snarled. "Over my dead body!" The man elbowed him hard. Ethan stumbled, but Aurora's voice pierced the darkness. "Ethan, left side!" He reacted instantly, dodging just as the man swung again. Ethan countered with a punch straight to the ribs. The intruder dropped with a scream. Security finally burst in, flashlights slicing through the dark. "Ms. Hale, are you hurt?" "I'm fine," Aurora said, her eyes never leaving Ethan. Security tackled the intruder, cuffing him. "We'll hand him to the police immediately." "Check his devices," Aurora commanded. "Every single one." The moment the intruder was dragged out, Aurora stepped toward Ethan, slow, shaken, breath unsteady. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling in a way he had never heard. "You could have been hurt. That was reckless, stupid." He wiped blood from his lip. "I couldn't let him expose you." Her voice cracked. "You risked everything." "So did you," he murmured. She stared at him. The red emergency lights painted her in soft shadows, making her look more human, more breakable than the CEO mask she always wore. "Why?" she whispered. Ethan swallowed. "Because you're not alone. Not anymore." Aurora froze, like no one had ever told her those words before. Her eyes glistened. "Ethan." She stepped closer, inches apart now. His breath mingled with hers. The moment stretched, fragile, electric, inevitable. But then, a soft beep echoed from the floor, the corrupted thumb drive blinking faintly. Aurora exhaled shakily. "It's destroyed. The footage is unreadable." Ethan nodded. "Good." For a long, suspended moment, Aurora simply looked at him, like she was memorizing him. Then she whispered, "You saved me." Again, Ethan smiled faintly. "Guess we're even now." "Not even close," she murmured. She lifted a hand, hesitated, then gently touched his jaw where he was bruised. Ethan held her gaze, heart hammering. Aurora whispered, "Ethan Cole, you are going to change my life." He didn't know what they were now, what they would become. A CEO and a single father, two broken worlds colliding. But as she stood there, trembling and near tears under the emergency lights, he knew one truth. This was no longer just accidental. It was destiny, and their story had only just begun.